What's up, party people, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm not gonna lie, it's 1:30 in the morning right now. Like, it's past midnight. What am I doing here? Anyway, today's video is something that I've wanted to do since October of 2017. Today I want to talk about some single eyeshadows and tell you my experience with a few different brands and also a certain palette. So back in October, oh god, I just messed up. Oh no. So I'm gonna ignore the mess that I just made in this palette. But back in October, I picked up the Makeup Forever XL palette. These are kind of like, they're customizable palettes like the Z palettes. But Z palettes, number one, are pretty expensive for what they are. And number two, they did something last year that kind of pissed me off a little bit. And I'm just boycotting them. And I feel like whatever they were doing, it was something with customer service. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not giving you my money. So Z palettes hold about 24 eyeshadows. Here's mine. But this one, this is the Makeup Forever XL palette. This holds 54 pans. So it's $14. So $14 versus $20. Here's what it looks like on the inside. And I was so excited. So I got this in October and I migrated all of my favorite single shadows into this and pretty much made my own little shebang right here. My own little palette business. So I have everything from Coastal Scents, which I paid 99 cents for, the Hot Pots. I have Makeup Geek. I have a ton of ColourPop shadows in here. And I went on vacation and I was traveling with it and stuff and I dropped it. I dropped it after having it for like 3 days and I was heartbroken. And it was only about 3 feet in the air and I really didn't expect as much damage as what I got. And the reason I'm so mad at myself is because I haven't even cleaned this since October. Like, I've been holding out to this video. So there are still just shards just shards of eyeshadow. There were several eyeshadows, at least like 6, that were completely shattered. I usually have never had a problem with Z palettes, so my initial response was, okay, it's the palette, the magnet's just not strong enough. Then I started realizing that the only ones that came apart and that shattered were a certain brand. And the brand that I'm talking about is called Looxi Beauty. And that's not to say that it's not the palette's fault. And you know, keep in mind, you know, some of you are gonna say, well, you dropped the palette, so what do you expect? But it's gonna happen, okay? If you think that you're gonna have a palette and you're never gonna drop it and nothing's ever gonna happen to it, and that's the thing, if you're a traveling makeup artist, if you have to travel by car, by plane, whatever the case may be, do you not think the palette's gonna get kind of knocked around a little bit? Like, the magnet has to be strong enough in the palette and it has to be durable enough to where you don't have to worry about that, or else, you know, what's the point? So before you go leaving any comments saying, well, you dropped it, shut up. That's just not practical. It's gonna happen. So I was still in the testing process of them because I'd only had them for like a week or so before I dropped the palette, and then they were pretty much unredeemable. So I'm gonna get to that in just a second. But if you don't know who Looxi Beauty is, they're basically like an Instagram famous, if you want to call them famous, brand. They're one of these brands that you don't really hear about anywhere else. Like, I haven't really seen any videos on YouTube. Like, I haven't really seen any bigger creators talk about them. About a year or so ago, I actually picked up their pressed powder highlighter. I picked up 2 different shades and I wasn't really happy with those. But on the face, number one, they were super frosty, very, very shimmery, and they emphasized everything. They just didn't sit very well on the skin. They didn't really melt. Funny story with those, I actually did have those in a Z palette and I dropped the Z palette and nothing else broke but those 2 highlighters. I feel like that's very telling of their pressing mechanism and also the formula. Like I said, I just don't feel like these are very finely milled, and the fact that they're so chunky, like, look at this. Look at all these little chunks. Oh no! Yeah, this is my life right now. Can you see all that fallout? Yeah, that one right there is still in there, and the reason I kept it in there was because it was actually, like, I'd actually fixed it. So as soon as I broke this palette, or broke the shadows, I went out and bought some alcohol to fix the shadows and, like, you know, repress them. And these shadows, these Looxi Beauty shadows, do not repress. So I had these 2 right here to show you because these 2 were the most redeemable that I had, and I pretty much threw away everything else. But these 2 I actually tried to fix a couple of nights ago, and can you see, like, I pressed them with alcohol and stuff, and I completely broke it all apart. You know, I didn't have any chunks or anything. I chopped it all up to where it was all, you know, just really fine. These Coastal Scents eyeshadows in here are 99 cents. ColourPop, $4 or $5. Makeup Geek, $4 or $5. These were the only ones that, like, there was a pattern. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a warning and start a discussion and, you know, see what your all's experience is with the Makeup Forever palettes and also with these eyeshadows. So until Looxi Beauty comes out and says something about improving their formula or improving like their pressing mechanism, I'm just not gonna pick up any more from them, and I don't recommend you do it either. You'll see swatches and stuff that look really nice on Instagram, but I mean, they're not really super pigmented when you swatch them. They're not really creamy, buttery, soft, you know, things that we typically look for in a shadow. And they just don't translate very well into the eyes, and they just make my eyelids look very dry. Like there are certain formulas that are just a little bit cheaper, that they just feel cheaper made, that just look very dry and low quality, and that's the experience that I have with these. With that being said, I don't feel like these are worth the price. You may try them, you may never have an issue with them, you may love the pigmentation and how they look on the eyes and stuff, but I just feel like overall, they're decent in quality, but they're just not worth it if they're gonna break and you just can't rely on them. That is it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. And again, leave your comments and your reviews below. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Mwah.